Tell him about the time we faced them.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel D&T Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
Excellent. Good to be back, guys. We're on time this week, which makes a change over the last few weeks. We've been sort of dallying, haven't we? But we're on time this week, which is always good. I think we've got quite a lot to talk about after a sort of pretty news heavy week, especially with Disney Plus Day. Hence all our backgrounds displaying Disney Plus Day. For you guys that are watching us on YouTube. But how are you guys anyway, Jarian? How are you? All right.
Doing well. You know, just another NFL Sunday, you know, watching the games, baking a cake type stuff. So doing well.
Baking a cake. What cake you baking?
It's my spin on a family recipe, but basically it's an apple cinnamon bourbon bundt cake.
Oh, I'm really hungry now. We've just had burritos and tacos and all that, but now I could go for a bit of that cake right now. Alex, how are you?
I'm good.
Excellent, good stuff. Yeah, I've had a sporting win today. Hence, why I've kept my t-shirt on today from my football or soccer for the American people listening. We won our local derby today, so I'm very pleased.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
Yeah, really pleased. But ironically, we've got to play them again next week as well. It's like a mirror image for the fixtures, so we've got to play them again next week. But so I might not be as happy next week. I could take 1 week to revel in victory. So anyway, enough about what we're doing in our lives. Let's get back to Marvel. So last week we spoke about Eternals. We had Monty on, and we caught up with what we saw in Eternals and how we sort of viewed Eternals going forward. There's one thing I've been thinking about this last week, which I thought I'd like to bring up with you guys and see how you feel about it. And I know that there's the sort of Midnight Suns angle that it looks like we could be playing, but I think there's also the MI13 angle that I think is really strong. With obviously, we know that Blade was the voice talking to Dane Whitman, and we know that Blade and the Black Knight have had, been in a team with Captain Britain and Pete Wisdom and Spitfire and other people like that. So, could we see some sort of, and the Ebony Blade, it was taken over by Dracula at one point, wasn't it? And
well, Dracula had made like a fake one made of vampire fangs, but it kind of sounds like in a way they could be mixing those two together, the real Ebony Blade and the Dracula one, especially with Blade showing up in the end credit scene. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see that whole that whole spin on MI13 and those guys, that team. I'd quite like to see that team in action. And obviously being a Brit, I'd like to see it. Sorry, Alex, go on.
I was just going to say, talking about Dracula, it's going to be really nice to see more of like the supernatural side of the MCU, kind of see, because then that gives me hope for things like lycanthropes, like the werewolves and stuff like that, and how they potentially come in. And we know we've already heard about like Werewolf by Night and stuff like that coming in the future. So, that just kind of ties in a little bit. So.
It's a side that we haven't really seen, isn't it? We haven't really seen, like you say, that supernatural. So we obviously touched on it in WandaVision with the Darkhold and things like that, but we haven't really. That's about as far as it's gone. And there's been a couple of.
They mentioned it too in Loki. So
they've mentioned about vampires and things, but we've obviously started. They're drip feeding us, aren't they? A couple of little mentions here and there.
Well, I mean, even with like Doctor Strange, like you had Dormammu. But Dormammu's like, kind of like something from another dimension. He's like something else, kind of pushing into our world is kind of like his thing. But like we saw in What If, like all those other little supernatural entities and things like that they threw in the Doctor Strange episode. Yep. But other than that, that's like probably like the most in a short amount of time that we've probably gotten was in What If.
Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi. We had all the sort of demons at the end of Shang-Chi.
The creature in the dark or the demon in the dark.
Yeah. So we've had quite a few in phase 4. We've had quite a few little sort of hints of the supernatural. So it'll be interesting to see him go down that route. And I think, and again, I just think an MI13 team would be a decent team to attack that. So and obviously Blade was in. He was well. I say obviously, we can assume that Dane Whitman was still in London at the end of that. So and Blade. I mean, Blade was from London, wasn't he? He was.
He's British.
Yeah, and Captain Britain is from literally just down the road from where I live. Or it's supposed to be anyway. He's supposed to be from Malden, which is just down the road from where I live. So yeah, I'd like to see an Essex boy in the MCU. That'd be great.
I could see him doing both Midnight Suns and MI13, because if you think about the Midnight Suns roundup, we already have Doctor Strange, we have Blade, we have Black Knight, Moon Knight's coming. There's rumors of Punisher showing up. Black Cat was teased along with in Morbius. Black Cat was teased in the Daily Bugle, and we have Morbius as well. Is he going to cross over? So Werewolf by Night also, and then there is some news that Scott Derrickson, who did the first Doctor Strange movie, wants to do another MCU movie. And I posted this in the group, and Ghost Rider, he could be a perfect one to lead the Ghost Rider series if that happens into a show. So a lot of breadcrumbs, going, either way, or, potentially doing both ways.
Yeah. Sure.
Did they ever say during the Disney Plus day about the Agatha Harkness show, whether it was going to be like a prequel or
they did not say? There was no news on any of the shows, and we'll talk about that later about Disney Plus day.
Okay.
Did you have some Eternals news, Joey?
Yeah. So speaking of Eternals, it has crossed 100 million here domestically in the States, so it's on a good track. Other news here: Pip the Troll creator Jim Starlin has said Patton Oswalt is perfect choice to play the character. Hopes to see him in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Didn't we said that last week that that could be where those guys turn up again, Star Fox and Pip.
And speaking of post-credit scenes, as we saw both Blade and Pip the Troll along with Star Fox, there was some post-credit scene ideas to include Eternals interacting with Kang along with ties to Ant-Man and the Wasp for Quantumania. There was also one that they thought about doing Sam Wilson, Captain America, as well.
Interesting. I think the ones, do you know what? I think you saying that, it would have seemed too soon for Quantum Mania.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now when it's in 2023 now, isn't it? At the end of or middle of 2023, towards the end. And I don't know whether, I think the two that we got, they went quite nicely with the film, didn't they? And I think all of a sudden showing Sam, it would have been a bit odd.
Yeah, it would have. I think it's too soon for that. So I'm glad they scrapped those ideas and stuck with what they did.
Yeah, agreed.
Also, Kamal Nagiani, who plays Kingo, he almost appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but because of COVID delays, it didn't happen. Gunn had a cameo written in the script for him, but not sure what the role was. So, he could have not been Kingo. He could have been someone else in Guardians of the Galaxy, but it never came to light.
A flashback of him playing with Thor as a child.
Well, it wasn't even as King. I don't think the role wasn't disclosed.
Oh, it wasn't as Kingo.
Yeah, it wasn't disclosed. So I don't think it was Kingo. I think it was somebody else.
All right, okay. Just talking about people with multiple roles in movies. I watched since it was released on Disney Plus Day, I watched the Boba Fett Untold Stories about Boba Fett. Have you seen it yet?
Not yet.
So they was talking about the guy that played Boba Fett, and he was also a pilot in Revenge of the Sith, I think, who crashed a big ship at the end. But he was also when they were on the Cloud City. Yeah, he was the Grand Admiral, one of the Grand Admirals that was dragging Leia away. And I was like, oh, they gave this, but he ended up with this sort of real, fame out of it and everything. It's real. Tell you what, I highly recommend it to watch that Boba Fett thing. It was really, really interesting. Really interesting. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
So we're to normal news then, Jarian. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep going. I have a bunch of Eternal stuff, and then we'll go through the rest of the news since we're talking about Eternals. Angelina Jolie is interested to return as Athena, but not in a solo film. So, whether that's in a cameo in other films, in a sequel to Eternals, she wants to come back, but doesn't want to do a solo film.
Fair enough. I'm not sure. Would she need a solo film?
Nah, I don't think she does.
Yeah, I agree.
And then speaking of Blade and the Ebony Blade, producer Nate Moore on Ebony Blade and Blade Connection. What he said, because the Ebony Blade, the characteristics of the Ebony Blade are not dissimilar to some degree to vampirism. And we think that's an interesting kind of thing to play with. So we kind of knew that was on the table. He has teased, he teased basically there was reasons for hopefully that would become apparent as you see more things. So I do think they're going down, combining the Ebony Blade and the fake one and the vampire fangs and that kind of stuff together for the MCU, because there's obviously some breadcrumbs there.
They're probably doing that thing where they're going to link like the bloodlust that the blade drives the person to want to have to kill is very much like the bloodlust a vampire has, kind of type thought process there. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that's right. When anybody wields the Ebony Blade, it gives them that kind of thirst for like damage, doesn't it? And to kill and to be violent and
Mm-hmm.
And in the comics, the fake Ebony Blade was used to try to control the Black Knight. So it makes sense with Blade saying, "Are you sure you want to do that?" In that post-credit scene, because obviously they're going down that path of combining those together in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'd like to. I'm really looking forward to that whole story. Actually, a lot more now than I was before. Before I knew about Blade being introduced, I guess probably what I was sitting there thinking was, are we going to get not necessarily a remake of the Wesley Snipes movies, but something similar? And to be fair, they were pretty good, especially the first one was really cool, and I enjoyed the second one. Third one was but and I was like, I don't know whether I need to see that again. But actually, if they're going down this route with it, I'm far more interested now than I was before.
Yeah, some people said they were hoping to see Snipes back as Whistler. What would be kind of a cool nod to back him, but I don't see that happening. I could see a cameo, but nothing major.
Didn't Snipes come out and say that he liked Mahershala Ali playing?
Yeah. Someone tweeted about it, and then he posted. He goes, he approved of Mahershala Ali playing Blade. So he said he'll do a great job.
Yeah.
So he has his support. Other things too from Eternals. The screenwriters Ryan and Cass Furpo commented on all the fan theories about Galactus' impending MCU arrival. They went on to say Galactus is an amazing character and villain. We are, obviously setting the stage for intergalactic cosmic megalith confrontations, especially when you kill a space god, and then the space god comes and kidnaps you and plans to judge Earth. I think the door is very much open for world-eating villains. There's definitely conversations about the post-credit sequences, about who we're introducing, where we're going. Galactus is one of the iconic figures of the Marvel universe that we're excited to see. But sometimes I think you leave yourself open. You leave these doors open, and who knows what's happening. Number two, maybe you're too busy saving a Celestial from Galactus that you end up incurring his wrath. Anything is possible. We don't know where we're going to go in number two. But if audiences want to see it, we're excited to explore it. So, this could lead to Galactus, which, makes sense. Is at the beacon at the end. Is Galactus tied to planets with celestial eggs? Is Galactus going to end up being the exterminator celestial? So who knows how that's all going to tie up, but it could lead there. Like we said before on the review post, that shot of Urusheim on Earth, basically Galactus vibes, right?
Yeah. That was really imposing, wasn't it? That shot of Arisham turning up, and I think it was not necessarily hard to understand how they would visualize Galactus in the movies, but obviously all we've got so far is what we had in the Fox Fantastic Four sequel, which was a big cloud monster, which we've seen hundreds of times in different things. So it was hard to kind of understand how he might come to life in the MCU and on film. And I think with the Celestials, with Arisham arriving in the way he did, that kind of gives us a little preview as to what he could do and what he could look like. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, plus we already had the smoke monster and Loki as well, so you can't do that again.
Eliath,
Eliath. So
and he's such a force of nature, like as an entity himself. And it's so funny. Like I think that in that Fox movie, they were kind of like playing on the idea of like how Galactus like appears differently to the people that he comes, you know what I'm saying, too? Like, so whatever like world he goes to, he appears as one of them, but like a giant version or whatever.
Yep.
But like, I think that they kind of like held on to that like cloud monster a little bit too long in that Fox movie. But yeah,
Cool.
And then more news on Eternals. So Nate Moore also teased that Karan's footage could eventually be released. He said, by the way, we've talked about it because there's footage and we were shooting a lot of stuff on a video camera on set just to have it. And Harish Patel, who is fantastic, he had an actual working prop camera. So he would just keep rolling on the scenes. We didn't always ask him to. He's like, what? That's what I'm doing. There's quite a bit more revealed. So I'm sure somewhere there's an actual Kingo documentary we could put together.
He was like, I was already doing that anyway. He was recording all that stuff just to take home and show his kids. He was great. He was great fun, wasn't he? And I think that footage would be really candid, and it'd be nice to see. It's almost like behind the scenes of the film, but like the stuff that we didn't see from the angles that that he was looking at it from. So that could be quite interesting to see.
That scene with the valet where he gets his camera broken, he pulls out a second one, and then he just starts filming with the second one. So funny.
He was my favorite.
They keep getting smaller though, don't they?
Yeah.
It's a little camera after that because somebody else breaks it, and that was quite funny.
So there's some Thanos news too about Eternals. So on Thanos and sequels, Ryan and Cass Furpo said that Thanos would need to be involved in a sequel. They said, I believe that there is no way that you can do Eternals 2 and 3 without somehow touching on Mr. Brolin. So,
yeah, I mean, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? I've no problem with bringing back Thanos or bringing back. I don't want to go into this now, but bringing back Iron Man or Black Widow or Captain America, but not yet. We don't need to see them yet, but later down the line, great, bring him back. Let's have a chat with Thanos again. I don't know how they'd bring him back. Whether it's, I don't know. I'm not the creative, but I'd be up for that.
Is it flashbacks or is it the way that maybe the Forge to recreate Thanos? Maybe they'll tie that to how that he was created as well. Was through the Forge and they have all those memories and they can bring him back that way, or they have his memories to a certain point and they can bring him back. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I never even thought that. Obviously, they could just remake him again, I guess.
Yep.
If they made him in the first place.
Yeah, they could just go through that whole thing where Arashon explained how the Eternals were made, and basically he is an Eternal with deviant genes. So.
Yeah, I mean, if Eros is an Eternal, then you would have thought that Thanos would have been an Eternal, wouldn't you? And made, like you said, made in the same way.
Yep.
So if they wanted to make him again, then they probably could.
Or they go down the whole Adam Warlock, Soul Stone, Soul World type thing and pull him out of that maybe too.
Yeah. I'd still quite like to see Magus make Thanos his bitch.
Because what they could do, if you think about it, when Thanos snapped the first time and went to the Soul World and he saw Gamora as a child, they could say maybe that they could pull him out from the Soul World at that point with using Adam Warlock. Who knows? Just an idea.
Yeah, interesting.
And then also too, Eternals couldn't film in Hawaii because of Inhumans. So this is interesting. So they wanted to film in Hawaii, but they couldn't because of what happened with Inhumans filming. According to Eternals writer Kaz Furbo, he goes on to state that in the Marvel universe, there's a lot of synergy, but also individuals telling great stories. There isn't this algorithm that makes Marvel movies great. They hire people who love what they do and let them do what they love. For us, Inhumans was part of that conversation only so far. As this is a true story, they said, you can't go to Hawaii. Nobody gets to go to Hawaii because Inhumans totally burned that bridge. Beyond that, there wasn't someone saying, like, we can't do this, we can't do that. The door really was open for us.
Oh dear, what did they do? Did they
I don't know, something with filming? Maybe they, didn't. I don't know the whole story, but it sounds like they messed up to where they can't film Marvel stuff in Hawaii right now.
Wow.
Oh dear, I didn't realize that. But then again, I wasn't I think I watched. I haven't even seen all that Inhumans. I
You
watched
don't need
about.
to.
Yeah,
No, I'm not
fine.
gonna.
it's
I
not
watched about
worth it.
4. I watched about 4 episodes, and I was just not impressed at all. I'm afraid. But
And then last thing on Eternals news, Victoria Alonso, who is now the president of physical and post-production, visual effects, and animation on the critical reception in Marvel Studios diversity commitments. She went on to say, "We have tried to stir it up, and sometimes the critics are not with us. That's okay. That's okay. We thank you for being a critic. We thank you for writing about us, and the fans will decide. Diversity and inclusion is not a political game for us. It is 100% a responsibility because you don't get to have the global success that we have given the Walt Disney company without the support of around the world of every kind of human there is. I want to do it all. I want to make sure that I get out there and I create as much change as time will allow." So
yeah, I like what she said there about it being a responsibility. I kind of I agree. If I'm
Yeah.
honest,
I agree with
think you've got a
everything. Yeah.
you got a platform like that, and it is a responsibility, I guess.
And it sounds like they're all on the same page too, because Chloe Zhao has addressed it in the last news episode I talked about diversity and that kind of stuff. Angelina Jolie has said maybe comments. So Kevin Feige has. So, like I said, have it reflect the world as it is today, and try to reach, as much audience as you can.
Yeah, I was chatting to somebody about the sort of golden age of comics the other day, and I've gone off on I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent if I can find the conversation that I was having with this person. But he was saying basically that the sort of the golden age can be a little bit difficult to read because of the way that it's kind of written, and he said, yeah, they're a lot of fun, and I love the era, but they can sometimes be a slog to read. And he's just put an example here. Yeah. So Blue Beetle says, Blue Beetle arriving at the jewel thieves' hideout, kicks in the door. And then the Blue Beetle says, "Now to kick in the door and find those jewel thieves." now the Blue Beetle has kicked in the door, he finds the jewel thieves. And the boss says, "Boss, it's the Blue Beetle, and he's kicked in the door and found our secret jewel thieves' hideout." And it's so, those kind of the old way of writing. Like, so my son, my 11-year-old I think I said a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? He went to the comic store and he got some comics and he's started to get into it and he's really enjoying reading them. And obviously I've got quite a collection of stuff here that he can go through reading and all of that, some of the older stuff. And he says, "Oh, I want to read some of the old things." And I'm like, I want him to read them, but I think he'll look at it, he'll read it for about a second and go, "Nah. Like I can't understand the way that they're talking."
Flow. Yeah.
And I think that goes for what they're talking about as well. I flipped back through. I was having a conversation with Mark Relaford on the group the other day about the ages of the X-Men when they were the first group of X-Men. So I just quickly flipped back through to some original X-Men stuff, and I'll tell you what, the blatant sexism towards Jean Grey when she turned up at their school was just unbelievable. And I said, there's just no way you would get away with that now. It's a good thing that it's moved on in that manner, I think, and I think they have got a responsibility to be, forthright with it and be progressive with it, certainly.
Yeah.
All right. So Wakanda Forever news. So
Ooh.
Lake Bell, who voiced Natasha Romanoff in What If, is joining Wakanda Forever cast. She's been seen on set. She's been seen, it doesn't look like it's an Atlantean role. It looks more of like a mercenary or other type of role. I keep hoping they're doing some kind of connection to Doom, whether it's, indirect or directly. So could she be playing Lucia Van Bardos, one of Doom's like right-hand people?
I don't know. I mean, is she, I know she's obviously a voice actor. Is she an actor as well?
Yep.
I didn't know.
She's done things in films, and roles in film and TV. So she has on-screen stuff, and I didn't realize that was her voicing Natasha Romanoff either until I saw this information.
And to be fair to her, if you wasn't told that it wasn't Scarlett Johansson, you probably would have thought that it was Scarlett Johansson. She did a very good job of impersonating that voice, didn't she?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Even the one who
Yeah.
did Tony Stark did well, good as well. So
Yeah, for sure.
And mentioning Doom, it's going to be really interesting to see how they like tie Latveria in with the world crisis and everything that went on with the blip and with post what happened in Eternals with the Celestial now being there, and
Do you think that Doom's going to have been around for a while, Alex, or do you think that he's going to be a new person that's come forward, or do we think that it could be? And I don't want this to be used for anything, but do you think that he might be multiversal or what?
I don't know. I think that really kind of like depends. I really hope that they don't hitch their horse to the wagon on that being like Doom's connected to the Fantastic Four right away. I hope that they kind of like maybe tell a different story with Doom, and then maybe like way down the road be like, oh yeah, him and Reed knew each other, back in the day, like da. But like, I'm kind of hoping that I guess he's a little bit older. That way we can like move past like if they decide to go that route, that like a young Reed Richards and Doom knew each other, So I don't know. I'm kind of hoping he's an older character, maybe 30s, 40s,
Yeah, so, and someone who's been Darren, and someone who's been operating for a while as Doom, it just in the shadows, or maybe he's just becoming Doom. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, kind of like, is he rising or has he been active as Doom? And I think you might see him like, he's kind of like I guess you could call him kind of like a monarch of Latveria, like he's kind of like royalty, more or less. So he's kind of got like diplomatic immunity for some things. And Doom's kind of always like up to these like things. So I think he could be like, maybe like somebody like that that's been on the world stage for a while that nobody knows is maybe Doom, like at some point, and then he could maybe put on the costume and all that kind of stuff and then become Doom. You never know. I mean,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Didn't Wanda go to Victor to help him recreate her children at one point? After her children, well, they were never real, were they? But after she lost her children, and I think it was after House of M. Did she not go to Victor?
I thought she did. I thought he was manipulating her.
Yeah, or there was some there was some connection there, but there was a Wanda Doom connection, and something to do with her kids, or something to do with, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was some connection there. I'm sure of it, and I've always thought that might have been a way to introduce it, that Wanda sought out help to try and find her children again, and she found him.
Yeah, and Doom's such an interesting character too, because he's kind of like really great with magic, like not like Doctor Strange, but on that level, like he's fantastic with magic, and then he's like very much like Tony Stark, he's great with technology too. So he's kind of like a double-edged sword in that way, So
he got his magic, he got the magic from his mother, didn't he? His understanding of magic from his mother. Yeah, interesting. I agree with you though, Alex. I think they can bring in Doom, not necessarily before, but not with the Fantastic Four. They don't necessarily need to bring him in first and then bring the Fantastic Four in, or vice versa. But they should do it like that. I think. I don't think they necessarily need to go, oh, here's the baddie for Fantastic Four, it's Doom, and we would all be like, oh right, yeah.
Well, and they've always kind of put Doom with the Fantastic Four and all the other movies. So why not do it differently for the MCU?
Exactly.
It's the same idea as like what they did with not having Uncle Ben in the Spider-Man movie. Like it's yeah. But I mean, like we saw like Uncle Ben die in the first trilogy, and then Garfield's 2 movies, but like they didn't give us that in the MCU, and it's because we've seen it so many times we don't need to see it again.
Absolutely. I agree. Yep, I agree. And Doom's been so many different places. He's done so many different things and interacted with so many different characters that there's no reason that you have to tie him to the Fantastic Four immediately, or even ever. But he should have that interaction with them. Obviously, we want to see that, but he doesn't necessarily need to come with them in a package.
Yeah.
I still want to see Fantastic Four in a way tied to Hank Pym and through the quantum realm, that kind of thing. Maybe the negative zone is in the quantum realm, maybe. But have Richards tied to Hank Pym, and maybe have them come through Quantumania whereas Doom's been there behind the scenes the entire time. Wakanda got on Doom's radar because he said he's a diplomat, all that kind of stuff. So Wakanda got on Doom's radar because of the end of Black Panther when T'Challa went to the United Nations and they opened themselves up. And then Doom kind of used this blip to kind of start trying to take over Wakanda or trying to get into Wakanda. And I wouldn't mind seeing them go that route. And maybe Doom is behind the scenes manipulating Atlantis for Wakanda Forever. So that's the route I would take. And then at some point have them stuck around between Fantastic Four and Doom, like some kind of connection. They knew each other in the past or, that kind of stuff. They're all head pin, maybe, they all were working together at some point. But yeah, I wouldn't mind them doing those two different paths for the MCU.
Yeah, I really like the idea, and I think you're probably right about the Fantastic Four and Quantum Mania being connected.
Yeah.
Not only because it makes sense story-wise, but looking at the timeline of Quantum Mania is the last movie at the moment that we've got scheduled, and we know that Fantastic Four is coming. And there's only three other movies that we know that are coming, and that's Deadpool, Captain America, and Blade.
Yep.
So, and they kind of announced Fantastic Four within that Phase 4 set of movies that they were going to release, didn't they? So I think it all makes sense that Quantum Mania will be their introduction.
Next bit of news for Wakanda Forever. This one's kind of a potential spoiler alert. So you might want to skip forward past this section. But here we go. T'Challa and Nakia had a child/son who will be in Wakanda forever and will continue the Black Panther legacy. Could also be the main character for one of the upcoming Disney Plus shows, because we know there's an Okoye show coming for Disney Plus, but there's still an Untitled Wakanda show on Disney Plus. So this is interesting because I kind of theorized this, back when we had Monty on talking about the Black Panther legacy, and how they could, one of the ways they could carry forward is T'Challa and Nakia having a child. Now, this does get away from the comics because, him and Storm had the child. The other thing that kind of bothers me too is that you're doing a black child in the MCU who's fatherless again, just like Killmonger. So, that kind of sours there. But this child wouldn't take the mantle for a while because depending on the age, if the baby was conceived after the first Black Panther movie, when him and Nakia kind of go back together, the child's 7 years old time frame. If it's right before the snap happened, before Infinity War, it could be 5 years old. Or if it's post snap, it's still a baby. So we're not going to see this child take the mantle for a while. So you're probably going to see others. There's heavy rumors on Letitia Wright being it for Wakanda Forever. There's been some Okoye rumblings as well. Lately, there's been some M'Baku rumblings, and I'll talk about that why next. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Alex, go on.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Shuri was like Black Panther very briefly in the comics.
Yep, she was briefly.
Yeah, so maybe like she's like the brief transition until he takes over the mantle. Like maybe she's the Black Panther for a little while and then they pass the mantle on. I don't know. Such an interesting thought to think about,
Yeah.
I had a theory, and it sort of shot down a little bit, but the theory was that Wakanda Forever was going to take place within the 5 years. And that's how. So we've seen that there's been some leaked images of what looks like a T'Challa funeral or memorial service. So they're not mourning him because of Chadwick Boseman's death. They're mourning him because of when he got dusted. Then obviously within the 5 years, they needed a new Black Panther. Shuri sort of stepped up almost reluctantly, then that solves the problem of not having to recast T'Challa just yet. So they've said we're not recasting T'Challa, but they haven't said we're never going to recast T'Challa. They just said we're not doing it now, not for this movie.
Yep.
So they can have a whole movie that's set for over 5 years if they wanted to.
Yep.
And it'd be about Shuri as Black Panther and meeting Riri Williams, and about the son growing up, maybe if this son is true or real. Sorry, there could even be a Killmonger, redemption in there, or that doesn't seem that way with the what if stuff. They look like they're just trying to make him more of a baddie.
All my dreams.
Yeah, but then they can come out on the back of that in a Black Panther 3 at some point, 2 or 3 years down the line, when it's not quite so sensitive and not quite so on top of Chadwick Boseman's death, and recast T'Challa. But that got kind of debunked because Shuri got dusted. Or I say Shuri got dusted. We didn't see her get dusted, but
we saw her on the screens. Yeah,
we saw her on the screen. But then I always thought, well, do you know what? They can make that up if they wanted her to disappear. They can, if she's gone out to do outreach at MIT to find people during the blip, they could say no, she was dusted. I mean, there was the scene with Captain America when he's doing the counselling with one of the Russos. One of the guys there says, my wife pretended to be blipped so that she could run off with some other guy. Yep. And so people were pretending to be blipped all over the world for a lot less serious reasons than what I should imagine Shuri could have come up with. So it's not out of the realms of possibility, but it was a really great theory. And so I went, yeah, but Shuri got dusted. Look at the proof. And I went, oh, it was one of those kind of moments,
Yeah,
but,
I could see it, but I would tweak that a little bit to where during the blip, Okoye took over the mantle, and Shuri, if we find out that she wasn't blipped, that she was in secret training the whole time. Because not only did we just see we saw her on the screen and in game, but we also all you saw was Okoye, for that first part of in game before the second snap happened. So maybe she was in secrets. Maybe that she was helping Nakia in secret with the baby. So I think we might see I think in Wakanda Forever we're going to see a time jump. In that whole tribute to T'Challa. It's probably during the snap. Then we're going to see, someone took over the mantle to kind of help stabilize Wakanda, and then a time jump forward type of thing.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's, the word forever is a big spanning word, isn't it? So,
yeah.
What does that mean? What does Wakanda Forever mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know what Wakanda Forever means in the movie, but what does it mean for the movie?
Correct.
I'd kind of like to know more about the tribes and the history and see them go a little bit further back and talk more about how, because we saw that very briefly in the first movie, but it was kind of like a quick flyby overview kind of type deal, and it's all right, now you're in the story now. So
yeah, might find out a little bit more. It might be a little bit more world building about Wakanda.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting to see that. I don't know. Do we know anything about that from the comics? I've read a bit of Black Panther, but never really delved right into it. Do they ever go into the different tribes in the
They
comics?
do a little bit, because different tribes, different them fighting, different enemies like Manape, and then you have other people like Madame Slay and other stuff like that. So they do go into that in some of the comics, and you have different characters and different conflict because of that. So they could do all that stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, since we're done talking about this, the spoiler alert section is over. But my last piece of Wakanda Forever news is basically they are shut down again.
Oh, really?
Yep, they are shut down again. So the initial shutdown. So the initial shutdown was because Letitia Wright was hurt, and she was still recovering from that onset injury. But now, because she's not a U.S. citizen, and they're filming the majority of Wakanda Forever in Georgia studio in their their Atlanta-based studios, Letitia Wright is not U.S. citizen, so she's been very outspoken against being vaccinated. There's vaccination requirements to come into the U.S., and so right now they are on hold again because of that, because she can't come to the U.S. She's not. Right now, nothing on getting vaccinated, and I don't see Marvel saying, "Hey, we're just going to move everything overseas so we can finish this." So there's been some rumblings. I don't know much what this holds, but there's been some rumblings out there that M'Baku could end up being the Black Panther mantle, which I'd love to see a man named Black Panther. But hopefully they figure out. Hopefully, they can come to some kind of arrangement, agreement, or do something, because I don't want to see this film delayed. I'm very excited to how they do things with Wakanda and the Black Panther mantle going forward, and how it ties into Ironheart. So hopefully they can get all this worked out.
We've got a year, literally a year, pretty much,
and it's in
to the
production
day.
now. So
I would imagine that they've got, that she's signed a contract with them, that they could probably, not that you can't force anybody to do anything, can you? But I don't know. Depends how strong our views are on certain things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't want to get into a political conversation, but
Nope.
I don't know. Hopefully, like you say, Jorian, they can sort it out.
Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So James Gunn tweeted that filming started on 11/8. But if you also look at the tweet that he had in the picture, there was a new cast member that hasn't been confirmed yet, later on to be confirmed as Chudwick Uwiji. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. In an undisclosed role. And then later on, James Gunn did tweet again confirming the casting. Now, who could this person be? Beta Ray Bill, maybe. Someone said maybe he could be Silver Surfer. It's gonna be interesting to see, who this person is going to end up being in the MCU.
And that picture that he tweeted was had all the main cast members there, didn't it?
Yep. Plus the new additional one. So
and plus So plus Will Poulter and this guy's name I'm not even going to try and pronounce. I mean, he's obviously somebody pretty important if he's there with those guys.
Maybe he's Nova.
Yeah.
So
yeah, potentially. I reckon you're right with Beta Ray Bill. I reckon it's about time for him. I think we might even see him before.
Yeah.
Before that.
They've given us a few little Easter eggs about him in the MCU, you know. So it's like we've kind of had the breadcrumbs. Might as well get him now.
Yeah. We've had Nova breadcrumbs. We've had Beta Ray Bill, and now the whole Galactus stuff. We have possibly Silver Surfer. So we'll see.
We was talking about that in the group the other day, weren't we? About Silver Surfer Origins, and people saying about would like to see a Silver Surfer Origins movie before you see Galactus. And I think that would be that could be done. It'd be a shame to miss out on that Silver Surfer creation piece, and that be the first time you see him as Silver Surfer. I think if you did an Origins movie, you'd probably be able to see that without seeing Galactus first. Do you know what I mean? Like wouldn't quite, the time wouldn't quite work. So it'd kind of have to be he's already Silver Surfer and we're already seeing him as Silver Surfer, and it's like going back to his previous life, because he does do that, doesn't he? Quite a lot. He remembers back what it was like on Zenlar and goes back and forwards to what was happening and all of that. But that was could be.
Yeah, and even the cartoon on Disney Plus, the series that happened before, all you see is him become, the Silver Surfer in the first episode. And then, that's kind of it. So,
I mean, Zenlar isn't. Monty actually said it on the group the other day. I think it was Monty anyway, and he said that the Zenlar isn't exactly the most exciting place in the world, because they've kind of evolved to the point where there's like no conflict, no war. Like Machine does everything basically. Like the citizens of Zenlar have just got life on a plate. They don't need to do anything or don't need to stress about anything. Everything's sorted, like to the point where they haven't got any weapons to try and fight Galactus when he actually does come.
They're kind of like pacifist almost, is kind of like the way to think about it. And I keep thinking about, like, with what we just saw in Eternals, you could always have somebody like Silver Surfer come in and be like a herald for Galactus who goes out and looks for planets with celestials. You know what I'm saying? And for Galactus to devour too. So
that might be that link that we were saying.
Yeah. What if they make what if they end up? Here's the interesting twist they could do with Silver Surfer in the MCU. What if he's an Eternal gone rogue who finds Galactus and gets Galactus to come and start devouring these places? Because we already saw the Eternals go rogue in this movie. And so what if he's another one that's kind of gone rogue, ends up out there somewhere, comes across Atlantis or not Atlantis, Galactus, and then convinces Galactus to start doing all this, devouring. Maybe, Icarus didn't really die in the sun. Maybe he finds like Icarus floating out there in space, comes across him, and Galactus turns Icarus into the Silver Surfer. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. MCU like to change things up, but
I mean, maybe the Silver Surfer was Zenlar's Eternal.
Yeah,
and then he sort of said, look, no, to Galactus has come there to I don't know, to do something or other. And he said, no, look, I'll do this and we can go away from this place.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, being Zenlar's Eternal. That actually worked really well.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And then that
Marvel, if you're listening. No.
it would kind of give like Galactus and Silver Surfer kind of like a symbiotic relationship more than like, Silver Surfer is just like his to his herald, so
yeah cool.
So Jim Starlin has also made comments on a live action Adam Warlock. He says, I imagine him dark. He's like the cosmic Batman. I would keep his dialogue down to a minimum, make him Clint Eastwood in space or something like that. The Silver Surfer was done over at Fox, whole different sensibility. I mean, look at Galactus. When they did that with Galactus, there's one character I'm hoping to see get remade again to more what he's supposed to be. It's good to depend on the story. It always depends on the story, how you present him, what he's going to be doing, where he's going. It's all going to come down to what the story is that they want to tell, and he'll be adapted toward that. It sounds like they're going to start off with him probably as a villainous type of character, an antagonist, let's say inside the Guardians movie, but we'll see where they go from there. They're putting Pip up, bringing Eros in. Who knows what they're going to do? They might bring back the Infinity Gems and start the Affinity Watch.
Infinity Watch. That's what I thought. Yeah, I've been thinking that they might have the Infinity Watch at some point.
Yep. So that's interesting. Though that he mentioned Infinity Watch. He mentioned being a villainous and antagonist, and then changing roles. So and not a lot of dialogue either. Just kick ass, take names, or kick names, take ass, as Mantis would say.
He's because he's like a very young being, isn't he? Like he doesn't know. He hasn't learned much when he first surfaces. But yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. I'm not sure about the Batman reference though. I mean, obviously Jim Starlin knows a hell of a lot more than I do, but I don't personally understand that one. I like the Clint Eastwood in space bit. I like that sort of, like sort of not many lines, but I'm not sure about the Batman reference. I don't know what that's.
Maybe this is dialogue. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's that like dark, dry attitude that like Batman tends to have, where he's just like he doesn't say much and he just kind of when he does, it's very gritty and very like straight to the point, like
I am Adam Warlock.
I think I'd quite like to see Adam Warlock be a kind of a cross in a way in personalities between Drax and Vision.
Yeah.
Where Drax is obviously very literal and very to the point, like he doesn't understand sarcasm, but not to the point where it's comedic, where it's very serious like Vision and very much pro something, whether that be pro-life or pro destroying the Guardians or whatever it is, but it's like very calculated in his words, there's no kind of emotion there or anything like that. And then obviously he grows to see different things as he goes along.
Yeah. And then last thing about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 news is that Sylvester Stallone confirmed his return as Starhawk with set video. So I'm interested to see if we see more Ravagers return, and hopefully they'll do some kind of Ravagers series or Ravagers movie in the MCU.
Wasn't there like an end credit scene at the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with him?
Ving Rhames, the late Michelle Yeoh, who plays Shang-Chi's aunt, she was there as one as well. So there were several of them that were in that as Ravagers for Yondu's funeral.
Miley Cyrus.
Yep, Miley Cyrus as well.
His main friend.
Wrecking Ball.
Yeah. Talking about Wrecking Ball in a minute. Not that Wrecking Ball. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Okay. So anyways, so moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Returning cast members for the latest Guardians of the Galaxy movie include Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillian, Palm Clementif, and Sean Gunn, who will next be seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special coming holiday 2022. So
cool, good. I don't know. I don't quite know how I feel about that. I kind of feel like I don't care. I feel like I should care, but I don't know. I'm kind of like, okay.
You should care because it's going to tie into the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. According to
I know, but again,
how much of an impact is it going to make?
That's what I mean. How much are they going to do in a holiday special that's going to impact the greater universe? I mean, they might do something massive.
Yeah.
And I will. I'll 100% watch it. Of course I will. But I'm like you say, Alex, how much are they going to do? But looking forward to it. It'll be fun. That's for certain.
So No Way Home time. So Nicholas Hammond, who played Peter Parker Spider-Man on the 70s Amazing Spider-Man series, will not be in No Way Home. So he's come out and said that. He said, I think it would have been a huge fun. It would have been a kick in the pants to have the old guy there. I was really hoping I would be approached, but unfortunately that didn't happen. He also praised Holland's portrayal of Parker Spider-Man. He said Tom Holland's version is the closest to what we're doing, trying to make him very much a real guy, someone who you could actually forget he had these powers and get caught up in Peter's story. That was what we were going for. So
nice. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths thing, are they? Like what they did on the DC show thing. So they're not going to just get every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come in and play whoever they used to play, which isn't a bad thing, I don't think. So I'm not surprised.
If they're going the multiverse way, it would be interesting to see like a retired Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Have him come in as a retired Peter Parker.
Yeah. That could be good.
There is 2 synopses out there for No Way Home. Here's the Brazilian one. For the first time in Spider-Man cinematic history, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is unmasked and can no longer keep his ordinary life separated from the challenges that go with being a superhero. After asking for Doctor Strange's help, the risks become even more dangerous and force him to discover what it means to be Spider-Man. That's the Brazilian one. There's also another one from overseas as well. I have a picture of it. Bear with me 1 second. This is the Danish synopsis of this one. For the first time, Spider-Man can no longer hide behind the mask, and he can no longer separate his life as a superhero from his normal life. When he asks Doctor Strange for help, even more comes into play, forcing him to figure out what it really means to be Spider-Man. The film more seriously introduced the so-called multiverse in Marvel's film series, and previous editions of Spider-Man, as well as various villains from Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man will appear. So that's interesting synopsis there on from Brazilian down in South America, and then a Danish one in Europe. Yeah,
I think they're pretty obvious. Not obvious, but there's nothing revelation. There's no revelations there. Sorry, I don't think that what they've said. So I think we probably could have guessed that that's probably what it would have been about. I like what Tom Holland said about it being, what did he say? Like a really dark and really hard to deal with or something. He said, I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but he said it's not going to be an enjoyable film, basically, in that respect. I thought that was quite interesting. So I'd be interested to see what they put Peter through in that film.
Andrew Garfield was also asked about his appearance during a recent tour for another movie that he's doing. All he said was, "We'll see, man." He didn't deny it. He just said, now he's saying, "We'll see, man." I think he's getting tired of answering questions about it.
Yeah, probably. He probably just pacifying people now.
Yeah. And then Tom Holland. So spoiler alert, you haven't seen Venom. Stop listening for a few minutes or for a little bit. But Tom Holland did address Venom's surprise cameo in an interview. He said, I generally don't know. It was really exciting to be part of that film. Obviously, Tom Hardy is one of the greatest actors in the world. I'm happy to say that he's a lovely bloke, but I haven't really given it much thought. So interesting there. Holland also was asked about the next Spider-Man. So after Holland's done playing the role, he made some comments about it. He said, when they cast a young kid in Spider-Man to replace me, whether it's next year or in 5 years, I'll take it upon myself to teach them about the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. Because it's huge, absolutely huge. Every time you walk outside that door, you're representing Spider-Man. It's tough. It's taxing sometimes, because sometimes you just want to go to a pub and get absolutely wasted and not have to worry about the ramifications of the public scrutiny of, oh my God, what did you mean you got drunk? When you meet these young kids and they're at that age where they can't really figure out whether it's real or not, it's so exciting. I always do the accent and chat to them. It's really fun. And it's a responsibility I really love carrying. But when someone else takes my place, I will be sure to give them some advice about how to deal with it and give them my number and basically say, whenever you need me, mate, I'm here. So
Professional courtesy. I probably should have read that, Jarian, in my English accent.
Yeah.
It probably would have sounded better.
yeah, because Holland's got Holland's got a very thick accent there. So,
but yes, just professional courtesy, really.
Yeah.
I guess, isn't it? Just somebody, somebody more experienced giving somebody less experienced some advice. So yeah, it makes sense. He seems like a decent fella, Tom Holland. So yeah, cool.
Which honestly, I don't think they can do another Parker again. They're gonna have to do Morales. You know that's gonna have to be the next approach to this, and maybe come back to Parker sometime down the line again. So
I read it couldn't have been long ago, but the Ultimate Spider-Man, like the death of Peter Parker, and so maybe they could play on that a little bit for when they bring Miles Morales in. Miles has already been bitten, and he's watched Peter die, and that's kind of what's spurred him on.
Kirsten Dunst claims she will not be returned to play Mary Jane in the film. She said, "I would do it. Why not? That would be fun. I would never say no to something like that." But then she wanted to say, "I'll be old MJ at this point with little Spidey babies." So,
how old is she, Kirsten Dunst? She must be in her 40s now.
Yeah, late 30s, early 40s. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So. The last thing on No Way Home is that a new trailer is supposedly coming this week, and it sounds like some big things could be revealed. There's actually some big screen on Tuesday for the new trailer. So I wonder if Marvel and Sony are trying to get ahead of all of the leaks and rumors about the previous Spider-Man, and we're going to get a very revealing trailer after it's viewed at the private screening on Tuesday. So who knows?
Yeah, I said to on the post where we saw that on our group, I said, do you know what, at this point, I mean, we're like 4 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not. I mean, it's going to be impossible for us to carry on doing this without seeing stuff, but I'd kind of rather not.
Yeah, I would just the one trailer and be done with it. What do you think?
Yeah,
Alex?
leave it now. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. I don't know. I have faith in Marvel. I really do. Like, I think they'll do well. I mean, like I said, like I went and saw Eternals the other day, and I absolutely love that movie. That movie was like one of my favorite Marvel movies that I've seen in recent years. So it's like they'll do whatever,
Yeah, hopefully it won't get ruined.
Venom. So Let There Be Carnage is the second film to cross 200 million domestically here in the States at 202.4 million. Joining Shang-Chi, who had 224.4 million. So Let There Be Carnage outpaced the original film and is doing really well. Being the second film, pandemic time to cross 200 million here in the States.
Everybody wants to get back to the cinema.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. There was a scrapped Hulu Offenders animated show. The lineup was going to be offbeat characters that included the likes of Howard the Duck, MODOK, Hitmonkey, Dazzler, and Tigra. The concept never saw the light of day due to Marvel Television shutting down. And I wonder if this is why that we are now getting, that we got MODOK separately by himself, and now are getting Hitmonkey, which I think just released or releasing this week. So,
and I did hear rumors of a Howard the Duck animated show as well.
Yep, that's coming too. That's gonna be on Disney Plus. These were gonna be Hulu shows. So,
although obviously all of these things, I mean, we've heard rumors of all these Disney Plus things, but based on what we actually saw on Friday, there's not, they haven't actually confirmed much of this. It's all just kind of like, oh well, we've kind of heard it somewhere along the line. Someone's reported it somewhere. So there, I think it's almost like until not happening until proven that it is, kind of thing,
Yeah. And speaking of Hitmonkey, the showrunners Will Speck and Josh Gordon did address that Offender series. They went on to say it was a very loose plan. It was the idea that there was a few sideline characters that could at some point join up, and that was the vision. One of the original concepts when they pitched to Hulu was, let's design 4 separate shows that don't necessarily have plans to combine and find a way to combine them. We were always in talks with other showrunners like MODOK executive producer Jordan Blum to figure out where the points of intersection were stylistically and humor-wise. The shows were never created to resemble each other. We always thought it was such a cool choice to combine the different styles. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit combining the different styles of animation. It would have been a little bit into the Spider-Verse-esque, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned in my 13, we mentioned Captain Britain earlier. Henry Cavill actually addressed the fan cast rumors of Captain Britain fan casting. He went on to say, I'm never going to say a Marvel character that's already being played by someone else because everyone's doing such an amazing job. However, I have the internet and I have seen the various rumors about Captain Britain, and that would be loads of fun to do a cool, modernized version of that, like the way they modernized Captain America. There's something fun about that. I do love being British.
Oh, good.
So
Can't change that though, can he?
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an obvious casting. No, I would have,
they
dunno.
they could multiverse it, do Captain Carter, like kind of like have that mantle, pass it down to him, and then him just go by Captain Britain or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like pass the shield on to him, kind of type deal, like how.
Yeah, or they could
He
do.
did.
It could go down the Union Jack route rather than Captain Britain route. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I'd take him as Captain Britain, but I don't think he'll do it.
Yeah.
And there was that tease also in Endgame when they went back to New Jersey and Captain Carter, and she mentioned Braddock. And is that his father? Is that him?
Yeah. Because they said Braddock hasn't reported in or something, haven't they? And didn't their dad go missing? Didn't his dad go missing or something like that? I can't remember exactly what it was.
But they could say that he went missing, and the whole Merlin giving him the powers type of thing that could play in, which didn't age him, and blah blah blah. So
yeah, because it was an accident. It was a bike accident.
Yeah, motorcycle accident. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Captain America 4 news. Nate Moore teases Sam Wilson will be outmatched in Captain America 4, which basically this sounds like to me. It's basically a continuation of Falcon and Winter Soldier. He went on to say, I think it's fascinating because he's a guy. He's a guy with wings and a shield, but he is a guy. So we're going to put him through the ringer and make them earn it and see what happens when he's outweighted, outclassed, out everything. What makes somebody Captain America? Because I'm going to argue with not being a super soldier. And I think we're going to prove that with Mackie and Sam Wilson.
Yeah, nice. So like ordinary guy, he's not got any superpowers. That's kind of what he was getting at towards the end, wasn't he? Of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So yeah, like you said, it's like a continuation of that story. But that's good. Yeah, be interesting to see where they take his character, whether he goes down a leadership route at all.
Some Blade news, since we mentioned Blade earlier with Eternals and the whole Ebony Blade stuff. Mahershala Ali on Blade cameo. It was scary because you're talking before you're filming it. I'm pretty particular about my choices, like most actors. And so having to make some choices, even with the line vocally this early on, it brought up some very real anxieties and it made the job real. It's like, okay, this is happening now, and that's exciting. He also teased the project is starting soon. That he said that Marvel World is obviously the biggest in film. And just to get my little introduction to it, starting with the Comic-Con a couple of years ago, and now the very early stages of stepping into the shoes of that character, it felt special and really cool. I'm excited to get going and do more. We're getting there. We're getting close.
Nice. Excellent. Good. Looking forward to it.
And then Daredevil news. This is kind of weird. This Daredevil news is kind of weird. And you'll find out why as I'm going through this. So the screenwriter David Hayter confirmed via small screen that Marvel was rebooting Daredevil, but didn't specify in what capacity. So this was the original report. And the quote from him was, they're doing a reboot of Daredevil, and Daredevil was always a very important character to me. And I love the first day they did it, or the first way they did it. But there's certain things that I know that I would adapt from the Frank Miller run on Daredevil that really meant a lot to me. That's really the one. And so everyone took that as him confirming that Daredevil is happening, right? But he later took to Twitter after this blew up, because basically everyone started reporting that Daredevil was happening. This is confirmation. So he took to Twitter to say, since this seems to be trending, no, I did not confirm a Daredevil reboot. I mistakenly thought I read in the trades that this was happening, and I would love to see it. And yes, I would love to write it, but I have no inside information whatsoever. So It's almost like maybe he did slip and say something, and then Marvel called him and said, "Look, you got to kind of walk this back."
Yeah, you got to go back on yourself.
Yeah, and so he did that with that tweet, or maybe he just, what he said and was what he said, and it shouldn't be taking anything into more context or looked into more, and people took it the wrong way.
Yeah, I think again that's we've said that a few times before, haven't we? Like someone's only got to say one word, and people extrapolate and just expand on everything that they've said, and anything can happen after that. So and it's like what I was saying before about the shows. This show's happening, that show's that. We've spoken. We could probably list 10 shows that we've heard of happening, but actually, as far as Marvel's concerned, they've not said anything, so they might as well not be happening at the moment. It's the same. An actor, director, writer, someone can say something, and all of a sudden, the rumor mill goes crazy, and so you don't know, do you? So
And some Hawkeye news. So Stephen Weintraub from Collider has revealed how long the opening 2 episodes of Hawkeye is. He went on to say, also, I cannot wait for everyone to see the Rogers musical stuff so we can talk about it. The first episode was 45 or 47 minutes, and the second one was 49, something like that. So it looks like we're gonna see the musical, in the first 2, the Rogers musical, and we have about 45 minutes to 50 minutes runtime for both episodes. But the cool thing though is that Kevin Feige gets a new honor on the show. So we all know that Kevin Feige, is the executive producer of the show, most Marvel Studios productions, but he never gets a credits roll. So when you see this, a credits roll in this way, the credits say on the new honor is that it's Marvel Studios presents a Kevin Feige production. This is the first time since Feige's been with Marvel Studios that they've done that. So
he's got his own business.
Yeah.
It's his own company now.
Yeah. Usually it's just the executive producer he listed as, but now it's saying that Kevin Feige production. That's pretty cool for Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
It's I'm not surprised that they're going to be that long. If you look at the length of that car chase scene that we saw in the trailer on Disney Plus Day, I was almost like wanting to turn it off. I was like, hold on, am I seeing too much of this? It was it looked immense, and I love a car chase, so I'm really looking forward to that.
It's really cool how they film that scene too, because they have the camera, how it pans all the way around 360. Like that's from I want to say they do that in another movie very similar, but I can't think, or in a movie, excuse me, not a show.
Was that one dude, Nobody? Was it that scene, that movie?
Maybe, but I've seen it before, and I've seen that before, and it's really interesting. Like it's cool.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of techniques like that in this movie. Those kind of flowing camera scenes. But yeah, it did look excellent. But like I say, I almost wanted to turn it off. I kind of felt like I was sort of like skipping ahead a little bit, and I was like, I'd rather just see what I saw in the trailer. Like, I don't know, have I got too much here?
Yeah,
it was like a whole clip, wasn't it? That hopefully that means that clip is really long. If the show's 45, 46, 47 minutes long, and we got to see that much on Disney Plus Day, hopefully there's a lot more to it that we haven't seen yet.
And 2 more things, and we're done with the news before we get to Disney Plus Day. So, Jonathan Majors says that Idris Elba convinced him to take the role and urged him to step up to the responsibility of the role and how it could help bring others through behind him. Majors said, I had watched the films, loved Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, killed it, but I was like, I don't think you want me. I don't think you want what I'm going to do. Like, I don't think you want that. That was my hesitation. I was like, you got the right black guy, like questioning that. Then he went on to says about him and Idris's conversation. We were talking about work and legacy of black actors and all that stuff. And he said, you can do that. What Dwayne Johnson has done to the game, what Idris Elba has done to the game, what Will Smith did to the game, this idea that black men can enter into a highly commercial world. It's all part of stretching it and making more room for the fellow behind them. So Idris basically told Jonathan Majors that it's on you now. So that's pretty cool. So it sounds like, even though we haven't seen more Heimdall or Idris in the MCU, that he helped Jonathan Majors make that decision to be King the Conqueror in the MCU.
Yeah, nice. I didn't know that they were even friends, but why would I know that they're friends?
That's cool though. So
I don't know either. Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah,
nice.
And then the last bit of news before Disney Plus Day is about Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. There's some conflicting reports out there, but basically it says the sequel has been prescribed as major new shoot. And what sources describe as being significant, the new shoot taking place in LA is both additional photography and reshoots. Writer Michael Waldron is reportedly writing new material, presumably for additional photography. How significant? It's been reported that Cumberbatch and company are undertaking 6 weeks of shooting, if not more, working 6 days a week. According to more reports, part of the reshoots are simply a function of working around the availability of actors. The production, which took place in London, was also impacted by COVID-related issues that slowed it down. So, and honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. I'd rather see it done right, and they're fixing things and COVID delays and, actors' schedules can be hectic. So,
that seems like it does seem like a long time though to be doing reshoots for 6 weeks for, that many hours a day. It seems like a lot of reshoots.
Yeah, there were some. There was one report, and I take this report with a grain of salt because basically they say it filmed badly internally. But this reporter, I'm not going to name the person, but I usually take that person's reports with a grain of salt because they usually aren't the most reliable source when it comes to reporting those type of things.
Right.
So Disney Plus Day. So let's discuss that now. So before Disney Plus Day, they did release some new content out there as well on the same day. So we know Shang-Chi's streaming now, but they also released Marvel Studios Legends Hawkeye, which I know you've seen already, Andy.
That was excellent.
And also Marvel Studios assembled Shang-Chi. So
I haven't seen that one yet, but yeah, no, the Legends episode with Hawkeye was really good. But I love all of those Legends episodes. Actually, they're all really very, very good.
Yep. They also show the lineup out there on Disney Plus now, where Shang-Chi is the latest one in the series as well. So we know where that is timeline wise now in the MCU. There's a new banner out there. So the banner for Marvel had the OG Avengers, and now it's a mix of new Avengers and a few OG ones are on there. So that they changed that banner. But the other interesting thing too is now it looks like the Spider-Man films are starting to show up on Disney Plus from some reports today. But if you also go on Disney Plus, that's someone's report. I saw someone tweet, and I haven't checked it yet. But there's a Spider-Verse category out there now.
Did see that.
There's also the IMAX enhanced lineups now as well, which give you better ratio and better audio as well. So,
righto. I was just having a look to see if I could see the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I didn't look yet, but someone said that the Raimi movies were out there. Some people were reporting that the Raimi movies were out there on it. I haven't looked yet.
I can't see them, to be honest, but maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but I can't see them.
Yeah, so maybe it was a glitch. Maybe they're getting ready to release, but we know that they were coming soon at some point, and maybe it was something with, depending on which part of the world you're in, who knows?
Yeah, potentially.
So announcements. Baymax, right? We know that Baymax is intertwined with Marvel, some of the characters and that kind of stuff on Big Hero 6. So Baymax is getting a series streaming in 2022. It doesn't seem like any of the other characters, except for the aunt and Baymax, are in this new series from the trailer they showed.
Big Hero 6 was fun.
Yeah,
so should be fun.
There was also a report about Disney shortening theatrical window on some films to release on Disney Plus quicker. So Bob Chapek didn't say to what, but mentioned flexibility. Right now it's 45 days. Chapek noted that the dollar speaks above all, and they're going to make their theatrical versus streaming decisions based on how it will affect the bottom line. To that end, though, he confirmed that Disney will forego their previous strategy of announcing movies years in advance so as to avoid further delays and shifts in release strategy. So I think we're seeing more outfall between the pandemic and also with Black Widow, because Black Widow was the main movie that got pretty much kind of pushed along through those delays and announcements. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I suppose it safeguards them against having to change days and things like that. Like you say, release days, they can sort of go, well, it's in the works and we're not telling you when it's going to be released yet because it's not finished. So that's kind of makes sense.
Last thing this is not MCU related, but it's Marvel related. There is a Predator Prey prequel series eyeing a 2022 release on Hulu. That was announced during Disney Plus Day as well. We know that the Predator is now Marvel because of the comics now under Marvel. So I figured I'd throw that in. But let's talk about some Marvel, core Marvel MC related content. The first one up, X-Men 97, is coming in 2023. Artist Chase Conley joins the project as the episodic director. Conley made waves in the comic book community when he unveiled a new design for Miles Morales. Before that, the graphic designer and storyboard artist worked on projects involving the Death of Superman, Teen Titans, and Black Dynamite. 2 years ago, Conley posted a workshop image of the iconic X-Men character Storm to his page. Depending on how long he's secretly been attached to this project, the artwork could be an indicator of the revival style. But we did get the classic designs in the Disney Plus special. Also sounds like this will be standalone from the MCU. So standalone, so not to the main timeline, but also it's going to be a continuation of the series.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm not sure how I felt about that, really, if I'm honest. Probably excited because it was the thing that got me into Marvel, really, I guess, is the X-Men series. But on the other hand, I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah,
it's totally feeding the nostalgia is kind of what it's meant to do. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, did we really need to go back there? Did we really, did we have to? Like, we all loved that series. Like, we were talking about Morph before podcast, and like one of the funniest things to me, I remember watching that show when I was younger, was the fact that Morph and Wolverine dynamic in the very beginning of it, and just kind of like their little relationship and everything like that. And plus I love seeing Wolverine cut off the roof of Cyclops' car and make him have a convertible. But you don't really have to go back. It makes us feel great and nostalgic, but they don't have to, you know.
I guess it's probably aimed at getting new fans, new children involved in the X-Men, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good gateway drug. I was kidding.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I guess I will watch it, but I'm not going to be counting down the days, if I'm honest. But it should be fun.
That show has one of the best title sequences, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Brad Winderbaum, head of streaming, television, and animation at Marvel Studios, on how head writer Bo DiMeo pitched the show. He pitched us a show that didn't just honor the original series, but also brought it into the modern world and talked not only about the 90s, but about the emotional shift that happened at the beginning of the new millennium, and how the show actually going to explore that and see how the characters changed, after a very impactful event. And he talked about the soap opera of it all. It was really compelling to us, but also true emotional stakes of these characters. So that's X-Men 97. Moon Knight, which we didn't get a date on. It is said coming soon, but there's a synopsis out there. A new globetrotting action adventure series featuring a complex vigilante who suffers from dissociative identity disorder. The multiple identities who live inside him find themselves thrust into a deadly war of the gods against the backdrop of modern and ancient Egypt. Now, for me, this was probably one of the best, most exciting things about that 12-minute trailer. Because honestly, I was kind of confused with Disney Plus Day because most everything was on social media. They did have later on the day, they did start posting like a section about Disney Plus Day and the presentations they had. But when it first started, it's like, where can you find stuff? It's like, I'm kind of confused why Disney didn't have things pinned to the top of Disney Plus. They did have Disney Plus Day and all the new releases, but none of these trailers, like the one for Pixar or Marvel. But the confusion was worth the wait, because again, the Moon Knight one, the best look of the day for me.
Yeah. What do you think, Alex, being a big Moon Knight fan?
So I'm really excited. There's one thing that I was thinking about, and it was Midnight Man. Yep. Like I've heard him talked about for Moon Knight, and I'm really curious to see how he ties in to Moon Knight, because if I remember correctly, he's just like an art thief that Moon Knight stops, and then he gets like badly injured by Moon Knight, and he gets like burned or something, and so he kind of has like some resentment towards Moon Knight over that. So I'm interested to see where they go with that character. That little brief teaser trailer that they did was great. I love that scene where he jumps like across from, that was awesome. I'm pretty excited. I'm a little bit concerned about the costume still, but it looked looked pretty good in the trailer from what I saw.
Yeah, I like the way it looked like on his arms. It looked like he was like wrapped like a mummy.
Yeah.
And I quite like the like nice big cape. It's a big or cowl. You know, it's a big change from the normal what we've seen in Marvel in the MCU as of yet. But I'm really looking forward to the sort of split personalities, the multiple personality side of things, and seeing Oscar Isaac really sort of dive into that and being the same person, but 3 or 4 different people, hopefully at the same time, and seeing how they visualize that on screen as well. You know,
Do you think that they'll make Khonshu like an actual like split personality, or you think they'll make him like more of like an entity, like a god? Or
that's what I think. I think he'll
Yeah.
be an external thing.
Yeah.
I think he'll be external thing. I think we'll just have Moon Knight having 3 or 4 different identities, and like you said, he doesn't know in the trailer. He can't determine real life from his dreams or reality from his dreams or something like that. And the dreams are basically like when he's being somebody else. Yeah. So I think that looked good.
I think the trailer did a great job because at one point he had an Irish accent and he changed a different voice. So you're kind of already seeing that in the trailer. You also saw him against the glass where he would kind of disappear, almost like he's Dr. Moon Knight, I think is the character when he's kind of like that. But I'm also interested to see who the main villain is, right? So I know comicbook.com or one of them with a synopsis article, they thought it might be Sun King. I know some reports are going to be, that Ethan Hawke is, Morlun, I think, the Spider-Man villain. But I hope it's Dracula, honestly, because this could tie everything together. If it's Dracula.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So, but no date for release, unfortunately. Just coming soon, which I was kind of bummed that a lot of these things had no release dates. They just said coming soon.
But then there you go. That's like what you was just saying. That's them not committing to anything just in case
exactly.
everything goes tits up.
But they've wrapped filming with Moon Knight, and they're Feige's excited about it. They're all excited about it. So you would think that we would get something with Moon Knight, at least like a date for Moon Knight. Maybe they're waiting to see how things line up, with other properties, how they're going to tie him into things. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think we could probably safely presume that it's going to be out in 2022 sometime.
Yeah.
As with She-Hulk.
Yep. So speaking of She-Hulk, that's the next one. So they showed that in the trailer too as well. She-Hulk is coming soon. We did see parts of that in the trailer. We did see Smart Hulk, but with his arm fixed, which kind of leads to when the time frame of She-Hulk is. And my guess is going to be that before they reached out to him in Endgame to come back to help them with the time travel, that's when he first was working with Jennifer Walters and She-Hulk. And the reason why we didn't see her at all in the final battle, because she was still trying to control her newfound powers and trying to get a hang of being She-Hulk. And that could be that same time. He just became Smart Hulk. He's working with her then, but then we get possibly a time jump to where we saw him at the Shang-Chi end credits, where he's back to regular Banner, but he still has his arm in a sling.
Yeah. I think you might be right there, mate. Yeah.
And side note, that container that she's in, it kind of reminds me of that one that Loki was held in, that they said that they would put Hulk in. That's exactly what I thought of. Yeah, in Avengers.
Yeah.
Unless him going back to, unless it's present day time and him going back to being Hulk. I'm sorry, being Banner. He was able to heal, and now he can go back between Smart Hulk and Banner now. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But we did get some
throw up some questions.
Yeah. But we did get glimpses of her as She-Hulk. There's some shots like of her arms, her leg, the iconic costume, but not so much. So they didn't show a lot in that trailer of She-Hulk.
I personally thought she looked a bit slim.
Yeah.
I thought she might have been a bit beefier. But
I thought she'd also be like a little bit taller too, because like I know you can't really tell by the trailer, but it looks like she's not like a massive person, and I think she's like 6 foot something in the comics.
I think she's supposed to be like an Amazonian type height, isn't it?
6'6" or something like that, huge. So
like you said, it was hard to get a judge of how tall she might have been, but I think she could have looked bigger, but then who knows? You said, you
get a full shot. So
no, you would have had two tiny little scenes. So but that was fun to see some clips of that actually.
I almost wonder, with the rumors of World War Hulk starting to film next year, if that by the end of the series that she, we see her like normal size, like in the comics and the cartoons, 6 foot something, but by the end she turns into Winter Hulk as part of World War Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that happens. So interesting to see.
Nice. Yeah, potential.
The one show that we did get a date for is Miss Marvel. We also saw some clips of her, but we didn't see much of Miss Marvel. We saw, we saw the costume. We saw her idolizing Miss Captain Marvel, but we didn't see the powers really. I was hoping we got some glimpse of the powers, whether it's the constructs like Green Lantern or it's her traditional powers like in the comics. So we didn't see any of that, but it's coming summer of 2022, July timeframe.
Who were the 4 figures that were standing in the smoke? Do you remember seeing that scene?
Yeah, I do, and I need to go back and watch it to see who those were.
I mean, I've been rooting for these guys for ages, but I thought, could it be the Wrecking Crew turning up?
And Miss Marvel though, because they're supposed to be showing up. They're supposed to be showing up in She-Hulk.
In She-Hulk, yeah. No, I know. But then I thought, well, are they showing up across the board for different people? You know, are they just kind of like thugs for hire almost?
That's a good idea.
Because they're not, geniuses, are they? So they're almost just like fodder for people to beat up. But it's almost like could they be just like I say thugs for hire across the US, just turning up to do different jobs for different, and they'll turn up in this movie and that person can beat them up, and then they'll turn up in that movie and that person can beat them up, or show. But yeah, no, I'm quite excited for Miss Marvel. I don't know a great deal about her, if I'm honest. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that show goes.
I'm interested to see how they explore like her abilities and how she gets them, and I'm really curious to see how deep they go into Inhumans, if at all, in the show. Like if they even touch on that, because like she's technically like I think the term that they use is like new human, because she's like one that gets her powers at a different point in her life than like a normal one. So I don't know.
I personally don't think they'll touch on the Inhumans at all.
I don't think they will either.
I wish they would, because her and Lockjaw are like like this thick as thieves, and so I was hoping to see Lockjaw and tie her back to the Inhumans, but yeah, maybe that's coming later, because or maybe they're gonna make her a mutant. Who knows? But we know they're changing her power set a little bit.
I think she might end up being an Inhuman or a new human or being linked to them, but I don't think we'll see it in this. I think they might retcon that later on down the line.
Don't they have that shot in the trailer where she gets hit by I don't want to call
it's not Terrigen Mist. It's not
Terrigen Mist. It's something else, like a cosmic blast or something like that. And so like my first thought was, I was like, maybe they're going to do that route where it's like, oh, she gets her powers kind of like Miss Marvel, but she also gets kind of like light powers, but instead she can like control things and embiggen herself, and like, I don't know, be a weird little link.
It'll be I'm intrigued to see that one, because I don't know much about her, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
We also got an announcement for What If Season 2. Not much details or when, just coming soon, but we knew that was coming, and we knew that it's not going to be as dark as the first season, and we do know that the one episode that slipped into Season 2 will be Tony on Sakaar and Gamora, that brief clip we saw in the last episode, or the second to last episode in this season. So that's coming soon. We do know that they've been recording their lines already, that they're well underway. I'm only surprised if it was done. They're just waiting as when they're going to release it, because we know that some people record their lines during Infinity War Endgame time frame. So, I expect that probably coming sooner than later.
Yeah, I reckon you're right there, Joey. And I reckon they recorded loads of stuff when they did the voice work for the first season, and they probably did. Wasn't there a rumor that they recorded 20 odd shows or something, or there was 20 ideas or something like that? So they may well have recorded all their stuff in one go.
Probably doing like final animation, probably something like that.
Yeah, but I'd quite like to see that as a recurring thing every year. Chuck in some new stories, some slight variations on the movies and shows that we've seen, and in this fun kind of but harmless way that doesn't have to link into the MCU, but it can if it does, and we'd all have a bit of an introduction. I really enjoyed What If, actually, so I'm all up for more What If.
you could use it as the playground to like talk about some of the like more obscure characters or the larger like cosmic entities and the things that are like really hard to kind of like make it almost on like a street level like thing. Like when you think about things like the Living Tribunal, like it's like, you know, how is that impacting Daredevil? You're like, oh, like, you know, like it's not much. Like he's not gonna have much of a talk there, but you know what I'm saying, like they could totally just use that as the sandbox for introducing, or they could even use it for origins, like, you know, characters like Silver Surfer or stuff that we've already talked about. Like
they can expand on his origins, can't they? They can expand on somebody else's another side of their story, something that we haven't quite seen before. But I was a big fan of What If, and I'm up for seeing more of that. I like the short sort of, you know, the 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Like watch this 22 minutes, watch it, and then leave it alone. And it didn't have a massive impact on anything, and it was just a fun little sort of exploration into the character a little bit more.
Well, right now it doesn't, but there's rumors that it's going to cross over. So especially with Captain Carter.
Yeah, I think maybe in that kind of multiversal way. I think the crossover might just be sort of some cameos from like Captain Carter, or, you know, the alternate versions of these characters from different multiverses. But I mean, we'll see.
And then also too, we also know that season 2 will have Phase 4 character. So we're going to see Shang-Chi, we're going to see Eternals. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing a what if episode of what if Red Guardian did beat Captain America, you know, type of thing. That'd be kind of interesting.
Oh, who the hell? What Captain America was Red Guardian fighting?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
what if Isaiah Bradley became Captain America?
Yeah, that's exactly.
That'd be a good episode. So
yeah, that would be an excellent episode. Actually, yeah, I'd love to see that. That would be excellent.
The next one up is Echo. Is officially announced but coming soon as well. But some news I was able to find about that is that Marion Dare from Better Call Saul to be the lead writer. It's also strongly believed that Native American writer Bobby Wilson from Reservation Dogs has joined the writer's room as well. So
nice.
And I hope that Echo is, you know, just the beginning of Native American characters in the MCU. So. Yeah, because she's debuting in Hawkeye, isn't she? Yep, and it's had a Daredevil series also. I'm sorry, Daredevil supposedly will show up in her series as well. So, and she's tied to Wilson Fisk also. So interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Another coming soon, Spider-Man Freshman Year animated series. And some other news information about this is that Harley Quinn's Liza Singer is working on the animated Spider-Man Freshman Year. Will also reveal Peter Parker's MCU origin story. So, like that meme that I posted in the group, looks like Uncle Ben's back on the table, boys.
I was wondering if that would be a part of the MCU in the same way that What If is part of the MCU. You know, like it kind of is and it kind of isn't.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where does it actually lie? It's not 100% part, but it's not also definitely not either. So I was wondering whether that would tie in the same, and it sounds like it's going to.
But here's something interesting too that I want to talk about because I saw Charles Murphy tweet this earlier today. He said one of our patrons suggested that Sean Aston as the MCU Uncle Ben, and I can't get it out of my head because how great the idea is. Then he goes on to say, sweetheart Sean Aston adds to the gut punch of Uncle Ben dying 1,000-fold, which kind of makes it painfully perfect. Like seeing him die would drive anyone to fight crime for real. Like have him voice Uncle Ben in that animated series, you know? That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. Do you know what? I'm probably more excited for that than I am for the X-Men one.
Yeah. Well, it's new content we haven't seen before, and how are they going to change up his origin story in the MCU, you know, than they have in the past.
Yeah, so. And do you know what? That was before I knew that. I was more excited for that one than the X-Men one. And like I say, it's odd because like the X-Men thing was my sort of entry entry point to Marvel. So it's not something that doesn't hold a big, you know, an important place, but it's I'm more excited for that now actually. And Loki season 2, we got to confirm that as well.
So before I get to that one, I Am Groot, we knew that was coming, animated series coming soon. You know, that's one where they're doing a different style animation. But that's already been announced, so nothing new there, just coming soon. Ironheart, another one we didn't know. I'm sorry, another one we already knew was coming. Doesn't know the date. That's coming soon as well. They showed a banner for it. But this has been rumored and not 100% confirmed, but they finally confirmed Agatha House of Harkness is going to be a series on Disney Plus, but coming soon. And is that going to be, after, is it going to be some time jumps? Is it going to be back, how she got to the town? Is it going to be, after her mind was wiped by Wanda and Wanda going back to her to help her with being the Scarlet Witch? Are we going to see her tied to Fantastic Four and being the Richards nanny for Franklin Richards? So there's a lot of ways they can go with it for that series.
Lots of possibilities there. And I tell you what, it also goes to show how confident they are in Catherine Hahn, is it?
Yep.
And Agatha Harkness as a character, that they've acted on that so quickly. I mean, let's put it this way: that Agatha Harkness show, is basically now at the same, or it looks like, in regards to what they've announced on Friday, it's basically at the same point as Ironheart and as Armor Wars, and maybe not quite as a Secret Invasion, but it's at the same point as those ones. It's like it was just announced coming soon, and she was only introduced 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago. So they've obviously acted on that very, very quickly. So they've got a lot of faith in that character and that actress. So that's going to be really interesting.
I think it.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it'd be really, really interesting if they expanded on how maybe she got the Darkhold, what she first did with it, like, about her learning about it. Because, like, I don't recall exactly, but I want to say there's like a 300-year gap from the point at which she like kills the Coven, and then she goes back to, the current time in WandaVision. So it's like there's a big point in time there where it's like, who knows what she was doing? Like, so let's see some flashbacks about that. Like, let's see what she's been up to all this time. Other magical beings she's met.
Exactly.
And, like, I don't know.
And because of the Darkhold, what has she come across, and who was she? Who could they introduce because of the Darkhold? Ghost Rider, cough. But
I know. I was just I was just going to say though. There you go. So she could end up linking all of those supernatural characters together. In fact, that's actually that might actually be what they're doing there. It might almost be a bit of an exploration into the Darkhold via Agatha to introduce a lot of these supernatural characters, even just by name or just by her researching them or coming across them or something at some point. Not necessarily like, oh, we're going to see them all in the show. That's not what I mean. But, she's reading about vampires, or she's reading about werewolves, or she's reading about, the Ghost Rider, or, whatever it is.
And she could know of people like Dracula in the MCU because he wanted the Darkhold at one point, so like she would also, like, werewolves were created by the Darkhold as well. So it's like, there's tons of different things that are linked to the Darkhold. And I don't remember them saying exactly when she got the Darkhold in that show.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. With all of these supernatural things starting to obviously take shape, she could almost be the Phil Coulson of the supernatural sort of world of the MCU, just that gel that holds all the supernatural things together. It looks like Val is going to be that gel that holds all the kind of spies and, espionage type things together. So,
like for example, does she tie the TVA also? Remember the TVA mentioned werewolves and vampires, or they mentioned vampires. I don't think they mentioned werewolves, but does she also come across the TVA with her being in the Darkhold? And did she cause any kind of Nexus events as well, or see those happen? So that'd be interesting. But my wife was like, that's the show that I'm most excited for, because she loves Catherine Hahn. So
cool.
The big surprise of the day though was Marvel Zombies animated series coming soon. So that kind of came out of left field. And so more information I found out is that She-Hulk Zeb Wells to write the animated Marvel Zombies. Robert Kirkman, the comics creator, will not be involved in the project. It won't be a continuation of What If Zombies, so it's going to be separate from What If Zombies. The quote was by Brad Winterbaum. And then, of course, we revealed what we're doing as a series all about Marvel Zombies, continuing the universe that was set up in What If. The question was asked, And just like the way Marvel Zombie was introduced in the Ultimates and the comics, and they introduced a parallel universe of zombies that was explored in its own series, we're doing a similar thing where we introduced in What If, and now we're going to take a look at the universe with a different lens. So, there basically says it's going to be a different, different than the zombies we saw in What If.
I assume it's going to be animated still.
Yes, it's animated. Yes.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool how they're using What If as kind of like a way to make like a backdoor pilot for that show.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think, like we said,
put the idea, see how strong the episodes are. Yeah,
they're almost using What If as a backdoor pilot for everything.
Yep.
Or for any of those shows. That's kind of beauty of What If, isn't it? It's like, well, if it doesn't work out, like, it's not a massive issue, is it? They haven't made $150 million series to and spanned it over the course of 6 or 7 weeks. They've made one 20-minute show, and if people respond really well to it, they can extrapolate that show to a whole series.
And then the other one, which we know was coming, but the surprise was we saw a clip of it, Secret Invasion, coming soon. Again, no date, but that trailer, showed that shot of Nick Fury, which, was that him or was that Talos again or another Skrull? But he looked pretty badass. And we know from his Instagram that he's been filming and it's in production. So
yeah, he looked, I think like you say, he looked rugged. He looked like he'd been through the ringer. I reckon that was Nick Fury. I reckon we'll see Talos as Nick Fury, and then we'll probably see Nick Fury like that.
Yep.
He's sort of Talos is like this clean shaven, just straight out of Winter Soldier, Nick Fury, and then Nick Fury's just a mess.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see like characters like the Secret Warriors team and stuff like that
possibly
in the future?
I know that was one of the rumors about those production companies.
Oh, wow.
And some of the projects. Yeah, it was the same rumors around Nova and other things too. So, which makes you hopefully we answer why he was in space and where he was going from that end credit scene in Far From Home. Yeah. Also, hopefully that ties together.
Do you think there'll be a sword tie in there from
possibly?
Division?
Yeah,
he wants to see you upstairs, sort of thing. There was the scroll at the end of that, wasn't there? And
yep.
I think there's probably some sort of connection there. So
if you haven't watched that Marvel Studios trailer, it's about 12 minutes long. It goes back before it goes forward. There's a big scene of Hawkeye in it, but also if you haven't seen the Moon Knight clip, go watch it. It also shows She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and then a shot of Nick Fury and Secret Invasion. The last couple of things that were also showed banners of coming soon: Loki season 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and Armor Wars.
Nothing from Armor Wars.
Still no date.
Nope.
Right?
This coming. I don't think actually Loki season 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Armor Wars. They had no coming soon. They just had title cards at the end of the trailer, so there wasn't any coming soon on those. But there was a hint that Loki season 2 might be starting production next year. There was that post, which I don't know how accurate it is, that they're starting, production of that show in January of 2022. So,
well, they've got the setup, haven't they? They've got the actors, they've got the costumes, they've got the CGI, they've got. Obviously, they have to do new CGI. I understand that, but they've got the templates. That's what I mean. It's not starting fresh, is it?
Yep,
it's not
like
starting
everything else.
Yeah, they've got a lot of the characters and a lot of the the ideas are already there. So these new shows, I guess they take more to get off the ground, especially some of the ones that are more. Like Secret Invasion, I should imagine was going to take quite a lot to get off the ground because there's a lot involved in that. But yeah, no, that's I was in a way I was quite sort of with Disney Plus Day. It was a bit like, oh, okay, there's a shame we didn't see more, but what we did get was decent and was exciting. But some dates would have been nice on some of those other things. But like we said, I didn't know that they're.
What's that you cut out there?
Accidentally stepped on the mute control that's on the floor. Like they're safeguarding against against these dates being moved
a sliding schedule. But it was kind of disappointing though, because I was hoping to get more things. Right now for 2022, I think the only thing we have confirmation on is Miss Marvel. We have nothing else for 2022 on the slate.
Yeah, so like we said earlier, they've not confirmed it. So at the moment, all we're getting is our three movies now.
Yeah.
3 movies: Strange, Wakanda Forever,
Love and Thunder.
And Love and Thunder.
And,
Love and Thunder.
and Guardians of I was gonna say the Guardians
next
Galaxy
year.
special. Yeah, that's a special, but it's
Oh
gonna be
yeah,
on Disney
that's
Plus.
yeah.
So it is only so at the moment, all we're guaranteed to get. Well, so we're not guaranteed to get it, are we? But all we're looking like we are going to get is our 3 movies and Miss Marvel. So yeah, there's got to be a couple more shows in there. We've got.
But, we'll have Morbius, coming out this year too as well. So
yeah, of course.
and Doctor Strange is this year? Doctor Strange? No, it's next year.
That's next year. Yeah.
Next year.
But next year we're gonna have 7 Marvel properties between Marvel Studios and Sony. Because 3 Sony and 4 Marvel Studios next year, and we don't know who. And we only know that Craven's coming out next year for Sony. So the other 2, that Spider Woman, is that Sinister Six, is that what else could it be? Is it Spider Verse?
Yeah.
Sequel. So we know that Sony's got 3 movies coming out in 2023. Marvel has 4, and we know we have so we're gonna have 2023 is gonna be a pretty big year for Marvel content. 7 movies and probably a couple shows.
They got some catch up, haven't they?
Yeah,
they got some catch up to play on. But yeah. So wow, that was. Have we got any more? Is that it for everything?
It's like a supersized episode.
Supersized episode.
Almost 2 hours.
We supersized this week's episode. So we're gonna cut it there, guys. And next week we'll be talking about or previewing a little bit of Hawkeye, because that'll be coming up. So get brushing up on your Hawkeye knowledge, and we'll have a little discussion about where we're hoping to see the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye go.
Yeah, hopefully we get some kind of clue on the villain. Maybe we know the Tracksuit Mafia was shown in the clip. We saw Cosmo the dog.
Lucky the dog.
No, sorry, Lucky. Yeah, Lucky. Cosmo's the astronaut dog. Lucky the dog. And then we did see clips of Vera Farmiga's character being Kate Bishop's mom. But we don't know if she made a mask. How will Wilson Fisk tie into this series potentially? How will Echo tie into this series? Will we see anything towards Daredevil? There was also the rumor too that Hawkeye could tie into No Way Home. So,
well, we can pick that one apart next week, I reckon, as a preview to it, and then we'll have 2 episodes to discuss the following week. So guys, it's been a pleasure as always. I'll have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a great week.
Good. Take care, everybody listening.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced doom
All right. Well, as I remember.
at Avenger headquarters?